Hello and welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 134, The Power of Thank You. I am continuing down through my pile of finished objects and we're going to look at another sweater today. So today's sweater is On the Grass by Joji Locatelli. This is a pay-to-play pattern that I purchased off of Ravelry. I do not know if Joji has her stuff elsewhere. Likely she does. But this is On the Grass. And I knit this in, I have to cheat here, I don't recall, in West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Aran Tweed. This is an Aran weight. It is a 100% wool. I don't believe it's superwash. I might have the label within reach. One moment. I do. This is 100% Shetland Island wool, and the colorway is Moss Bank, and I love the color. It is this beautiful mossy green, but in it are flecks of orange and purple. And it is just lovely. It's subtle, it's lovely, and it has so much texture to it. I opted to do a heavy texture pattern with it as well. This pattern has some 3x1 ribbing here at the yoke and down each sleeve. It has a 1x1 rib at the hem, and the cuff does change from the 3x1 to a 1x1 at the very edge. All the rest of this is a double moss stitch. I made modifications. The pattern actually has a much more straight boat neck collar to it, and that just doesn't work for me. I don't like things cutting directly across my throat. I always feel like I'm being choked. So I did some extra short rows, and I did a lot of research. With Ravelry, there's a bunch of people that have already worked it, including some test knitters, that put in instructions about how they did short rows to round the collar. I also modified it because it was very wide to bring it in a little bit. And I did put my notes into my project page on Ravelry, talking about how I narrowed it, how I added short rows, and how that actually brought the neck pickup count down to the smallest size, whereas I was working a size larger than the smallest. I don't recall which size. I don't know if I even noted. I did it in the 38.5. Whatever the smallest neck is how the pickup came up after my modifications. Brilliant. Was able to get that to work and mod that neck in so that it fit me the way I wanted it to fit. My only other modifications were lengthening it slightly. I wanted it to be a little bit longer. I was able to make gauge by going up just one needle size. That was very easy. And I think part of that might have been a slight change in the weight of the yarn as compared to the yarn that was suggested. But I like the fabric. I like it's cozy. It's very cozy. I'm reading my cheat sheet here. While the sweater is structurally wonderful, while the pattern is very, very well written, while the pattern was something that I could easily modify and get to fit and style the way I wanted it to, I would not knit this again. That has nothing to do with the designer, the pattern, or the yarn. I like all of those things. What I didn't like was the texture. This double stitch, moss stitch, high texture for the entire body was incredibly fatiguing and difficult on my hands. It quite literally is knit one, purl one for 2 rows, purl one, knit one for 2 rows for the entire body of the sweater. The texture is exquisite. It is beautiful. I will treasure this. I love it. I will never knit another one again. It simply was more than I could comfortably work on with any kind of consistency, and I really had to spend a lot of time sitting down and kind of forcing myself to work on it. I burnt out on it. That said, it's lovely. I'm just yanking it on right over what I'm wearing. I'm very happy with it. I have not actually worn it for a day yet. We haven't had weather quite cold enough for this yet. It is a nice, thick, bundled up sweater. Let's see if I can zoom out. It's a high-tech show. And just kind of show you. There it is. It's lovely. The sleeves were quite a challenge for me as well because of the 3x1 rib. I simply was dealing with a ton of inflammation at the time, and my hands were the most affected by that. And changing the yarn position just became too much. I expect that as my inflammation abates, that will go away, and I may someday be tempted back into a high texture of this volume, but I don't expect that to happen anytime soon. I'm not sure why I chose this pattern at a time that I had so much hand pain. That probably wasn't the wisest decision. Fortunately, that angst, that pain, that frustration did not adhere to my sweater. I love my sweater. I think if I were to do it again, I would go up one more size. I want this to be just a little bit looser. It's not too snug on me, but I think I wanted it to be just a little bit boxier and looser. The fit is fabulous. It's very accurate. Her patterning, her styling is always very conscientious, very accurate. I would dare say she is utilizing some of the best tech editors out there. There was nothing wrong with the pattern. There was simply a disagreement between the knitter and the texture that was in hand. Again, on the grass, Joji Locatelli, beautiful pattern, beautiful end product. This is a top down in the round, seamless, and I love it. I love it. I'm glad it's done. Glad it's done. But I do love the pattern, and I would recommend it. If you are all about a nice texture, this is it. The yarn was very affordable. I think I got it at Webb's. And it was not a yarn that I had used before. It was not a yarn that I had exposure to before. Fortunately, I knew people that I could reach out to and say, hey, have you used this? What's it like? I did not know what Shetland wool was like. I did not know if I was going to be comfortable with this against my skin. Shopping online, we have few tactile resources. We just don't have the ability to touch it, hold it against our necks, find out, is this something that I want to wear against my skin? Is this something I would gift? Is this something that is really warm, really lofty, really... There's so many questions that a photo just doesn't answer. And as a yarn seller online myself, it's a challenge. I'm not sure how to get around that for you. I don't know how to tell you that my yarn is exquisitely soft. I don't know how to tell you that this is bouncy and light, or it's such a tactile sport, knitting and crocheting, that we just... A personal reference for yarn is everything. If you're looking at trying a new yarn, talk to the people around you, talk to your knitters, talk to your crocheters, ask them, have they used this? Would they recommend it? What did they use it on? Do they wear it? Do they wear it? I have pieces of clothing, sweaters that I've made that I know you don't wear that unless you've got something on under it. It'll drive you insane. And I have other pieces that I'm like, oh wow, if I could sleep in that I would. Because the yarn is so delicious. that's really the only way to get around that, I think, at this point, is to network and keep notes or keep samples or be mindful that, oh, I didn't like this, and find out why, move in a different direction. Sometimes a simple wash will make a difference in the yarn. This one was just a little bit scritchy straight out of the package. Once I started knitting with it, it broke down a little bit. I think it kind of needed some stretch time, and then once I blocked it, it's just lovely. I'm very happy in it, and I'm not sure why I haven't worn it yet other than temperature, because this is actually an incredibly comfortable sweater. So that's my sweater this time, and I'm gonna pull you in because I feel like I'm shouting to reach out to y'all. There we go. This is nice. Get to sit down and talk to you. So today's episode I called The Power of Thank You. And I think that thank you has been liquidated, dissolved, reduced. We hear thank you on the phone. We read it. We see it. But are we feeling it? And I think it's become kind of flippant. It is something that is expected of customer service, but it's not, it doesn't have much power left in it lately. It feels just route. It feels routine. It feels commonplace. It doesn't feel intentioned. And when we take the time to intentionally look someone in the eye, stop, take a breath, and say, thank you, it means so much more. It gets in. And it's powerful, really powerful. And I've been working very hard, specifically in my job, to make sure that I reach out to coworkers, that I intentionally give the breath and say very clearly, very enunciated, thank you to my clients, to my patients, to people paying us, and try to make that impact. I reach out to coworkers and I specifically thank them with a why I am thanking them. That's taken some people off guard. I've had a couple people that when I thanked them, they immediately responded with, oh my God, what did I do wrong? Wow, that hurt. That hurt a lot. That was astounding to me. I seriously had to ask myself and them why that was their response. Were they so abused? Was I abusive? That they thought it was a butter-up, a cover-up, or a workaround. Why was their response fearful or defensive? And fortunately, it wasn't because I had been abusive. It was that they hadn't been thanked in so long that it took them off guard. They assumed something had to be wrong. That's sad. That's wrong. That's not okay. A well-intentioned thank you means so much, can do so much in somebody's day, can change an entire thought pattern. I had a patient call, and he was calling in specifically to pay on his wife's account. And he was very apologetic. They had been longtime clients, and they were late paying their bill. And a lot of people are impacted right now financially. COVID has not been easy for a lot of people. And so we are being incredibly generous and forgiving and quick to say, don't worry about it. And there's never fees. There's never anything like that. But people feel very tied and responsible to their doctors, and they don't want to short their doctors. They really don't, because they recognize as we age, we rely on them more. And he was very concerned that because the bill was late, that the doctor may opt not to see them. I don't know what practices are doing that to patients where they're cutting them off for inability to pay in a timely fashion, but that is plain horrible. But it apparently is happening if that's the mindset or the precedent. And I said, oh no, don't worry about that. Doctor has no idea what the status of your account is, and once it's paid, and there's no idea that there was lateness. We don't look at that. And he was thankful. And then he said, well, right after my wife had been in for this, she went into a treatment facility for alcoholism. And then he was giving me his credit card number as that was sinking into my mind, and I was filling out the online form to take his payment. And I realized how hard it would be for me to say that to somebody, even a total stranger, and how unnecessary his statement was. He did not need to share that. He did not need an excuse. We had already addressed that his payment was late. And what I heard was a cry for help, a cry for recognition. And so I took his payment and I said, thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Your payment has been acknowledged. Your wife's account is paid in full. And thank you. Thank you for sharing. I know that was hard. And thank you for being there for her through this trial in her life and helping her heal so that she can continue to be valuable and important and loved by everybody whose life she touches. He cried. And he said, I never looked at it that way. Thank you. I needed that. I needed that to start my day. I am terrified. I am going to pick her up to bring her home today, and I don't know what I'm facing. But I feel better about it. I didn't have to say anything to him. But I listened, and I heard another human hurting. That was the best part of my day. It's the best part of my week. Because I helped someone. And all I had to say was thank you. And I don't know him, and I don't know her. And their impact in my life was 3 minutes on the phone doing customer service. But that call has impacted me in so many other ways because it reminded me of my value, that I could make other people's days better simply by thanking them for something that had nothing to do with me. We need more kindness. We need to be better to each other. And I don't mean when we have an opportunity. I mean, we need to reach out. We need to reach out to total strangers. We need to reach out to each other. We need to reach out to people that we know, that we take for granted, that they will always be there. And we need to be good to them proactively. There is power in thank you. And you can say thank you to somebody for something that happened 10 years ago. It still matters. I'm grateful for you. I thank you for this time. I thank you for this opportunity to sit down and share what impacts me. what makes me emotional, which makes me happy, which makes me sad, and have an opportunity to give my experiences a voice and maybe make your experiences better. I ask you to say thank you to one person who completely doesn't expect it this week. Just one. Randomly. Pick somebody. For anything. Thank you for picking that up. I really appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you for making that call. I was dreading it. Thank you for anything. But look them in the eye. Or make the phone call. Don't just text it. Don't just email it. Use your voice and impart your emotion and your meaning and your love behind it. It matters a lot. That's that. So I shared with you a sweater that, while I love it, I will never knit it again. Moss stitch, what was I thinking? And I shared with you an intimate experience that impacted me. And this emotional stuff that you see is just straight sincerity and rawness. I'm happy. I have a good life. I am blessed. And I want that for everyone. And not everybody's got that. Holidays are hard. We're going to miss our families this year, I think, more than ever. And I hope that if you can't be with family, you're making some kind of plan to do like video time or a phone call or something. I know I'm always separated from my family and we always have good long calls. And I'm hoping this year maybe to do some video with some people and actually lay some eyes down. And I hope you've got that too. And if there's any way that I can help facilitate that for you, if I can get online and show you guys how to use Zoom or teach your family how to Skype, you let me know, because I will reach out and I will help you with that kind of technical stuff as best I can, or direct you to somebody who could, because I think that's really important. Really important. That's everything. I'm done sobbing. This is a good thing. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you all again soon. Bye.